Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to make a Sandeel Couge, which is one of these, but this one's made out of plastic tubing. I'm going to attempt to make one out of willow, like my baskets here. Now I've never done this before, so Sandeel Couges are used, obviously in the name, to keep sandeels alive when you're going fishing. Traditionally they were made of willow. Nowadays you can't buy them out of willow. You only get these plastic ones. They actually can be quite expensive. You'd probably pay, I don't know, 80 quid for something like this, 80, 100 quid for something like this out of plastic. But I had a thought. I've never had one of these myself, but I had a thought I'd like to have one. I'd like to try and make one. I've no idea how to do it, so one of my friends lent me his, so that I can have a look at how it's formed, and I'm going to take you on the journey. It's going to take me a number of days, I'm sure, but I'll obviously speed up in the video so you hopefully don't get bored. So let's just have a look and see how it's made. I'll give you some close-ups. Okay, so this is a close-up of the Sandeel Couge. So as you can see, it's made up of, first of all, we've got these wooden ends. Now I've got some leftover of my baskets. I've got, I use broom handles for those, so I can use the leftovers for that to make the ends. And then you've got these ribs here lengthways, which on these modern day baskets are made out of, by the look of it, they're made out of like a plastic coated wire, thick wire. And you can see near the openings, you can see that actually there's 3 bits of wire here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use probably thicker rod. I'm going to use stainless steel rather than using the wire. I'm going to use I've got some 3mm stainless steel rod, and for around the opening I'll just use some thicker one. I've got 5 or 6mm that I can use for that, just to give it a bit of strength near the opening. And you can see here this is the lid. So this is made out of cork, and it's got a little wooden insert like that. So and it's been shaped so that it fits snugly. And then once it's on like that, there's this. Actually, it's lost its toggle. Normally, you've got a strap which goes over like this with the toggle on the other side. And you can see that. So there's quite a nice space inside for keeping your sandeels. You've got to have enough space so they don't bash into the sides too much. I mean, nowadays a lot of people just use their bait tanks on their boats rather than using couges like this, but they have got their uses, particularly in the smaller boats that I normally go out in with one of my friends. So I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to get right. So what I need to do now is source the materials, and then I'll start to make it. Okay, so sourced most of the materials now. Got a bit of old broom handle. This is for doing the ends. Got 3mm stainless steel rod, which you can see is quite flexible anyway, but I will be able to bend that. These are for making most of the ribs. And then we've got 6mm, which is probably a little bit too thick, but that's for making the frame near the openings, so that it gives a bit more strength. And then I've got some Blackmore willow. This is 4 foot long. This will need to be soaked for 4 days first. I'll show you how that works. Not sure how much I'm going to need. Probably 100 maybe. So that's what I'll do. If I need to soak more, I'll do that. So I'll just need to cut them down to measure now. Now, in order to bend the rods, what I've got is a bending machine, which I purchased to do my baskets, and it's going to come in quite handy because, as you can see here, what we're going to need to do is bend the rods to the shape of the couge. Now, there's not an awful lot of bend there to do, but it needs to be consistent. So there's a way on this machine to actually make it consistent. Yeah, we'll give it a go. I'll show you how it works. Might not get it right first time, but we'll give it a go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera closer so you can get a good look at how I'm doing this. So you can do complete. Oh dear, yeah, that happens sometimes, which is a bit annoying. Got to make sure that when you put it back together, it's the right way around as well. Otherwise, you get inconsistent bends. So it is quite thick, this stainless steel, for what this machine's designed for. So you can see here that it hasn't bent very much. I'm just okay, so a bit more pressure, and then roll it through. That looks a bit better. I said that every time. Doesn't seem to be making that much of a difference. Let's just have a look. I won't bring it down. Yeah. Oh, I reckon that'll do. So now the trick is, what I'm going to try and do is get the same bend on the next one. Exactly the same. So you can see here how much is bent. So that's the that was the existing one. So I'm going to try and get the same bend there. Right, okay, so what I've done is I've tried to mark out on here, counted out the number of rods that we've got. Obviously the two thick ones here, that's where the larger gauge bars are going to be, and then all the way around I've tried to mark out just to see if it could fit in, and it does just about fit, so it's kind of give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I'll have to have a plan B. So what I'm going to do is here the bars are at an angle, so they're going to be going in like this. So if I'm going to drill the hole in the same direction as the angle, so it makes it easier to go in. Okay, so that didn't go quite to plan. I was having difficulty getting the rods to stay in place in both ends and level, and I thought, well, why don't I use my workbench, because it makes complete sense. I can then position it in place, and I'm just gonna fix it here until the glue's sorted, because it's important to get the frame right straight away. It's the same with my baskets. If you get the frame right, the rest of it sort of follows, and it should be fine. So yeah, it gives us a lot sort of a stronger frame then to start putting all the other bars in. So I'm going to leave that to set overnight. Okay, so it's been a couple of days since I've been back. Not done that. I haven't done that on purpose. I just haven't got round to coming back. So the glue is well and truly set. Obviously, you don't need to take that long. Now, what I've you can see that it's actually turned out quite well. The shape of it's pretty spot on. It might need to be bent a little bit inwards, but that can be done as we're adding the extra bars. It can pull it in. So what I need to do now is add the remaining 19 bars. So I just have to be careful, do this methodically. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off from this side just to make sure I've got the length right. Otherwise I might have to adjust where I'm actually entering the holes. And so I'm going to start off on either side of this opening, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move around to the other side in order to keep the shape the right shape. If I do it all from one side, then it can tend to bend the structure in one way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then add some of this side, and then just fill in the gaps from there. So there's 19 to do. It's going to be pretty boring to watch, so I'm going to probably speed this part up. Right, so I let it harden overnight, and actually it's much better, it's much more stable than it was yesterday. I'm still not happy with it, it is a bit rubbish, but I've got a plan on how to make it, neaten it up a little bit and rescue the situation. So so I've got, I think it's 16 of the smaller bars all the way around, and I think what I'm going to do is I think I'll be able to fit one more. I think I've got a bit of a gap here, so I am going to fill in. I might put one on the other side as well. I'll see if how many I can get in. But you can see here what I've done is I've taped up the opening. If you have a look on the existing Couge, so you can see it is taking shape. You can see on the existing Couge, this is the opening. So what I'm going to do is I've taped up and measured it up, and then I've cut some wire to shape. And what I'm going to do, instead of having the stainless steel bars, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some galvanized wire and put a couple in here, put a bit of wire going across this way as well, and then just to form the opening and something to weave around. So yeah, I'll do that now. Okay, so I put one more wire in. I'm hoping that this won't pop out as I'm showing you. So, should be all finished now with regards to the frame. As you can see, I've made the opening here, which is the same size. You can see you could put your hand through to get the Sandeels out. So, yeah, it looks okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it dry overnight, the glue again. Right, I wasn't going to show you this because it's a bit embarrassing. But if you have a look at the where all the bars have gone in, you can see it's a bit of a mess. It's actually this is probably the cleaner side. You see some of the bits on the other side, but you can see there that. Yeah, it's messy. There's a load of glue. I mean, I can get rid of some of that, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to whip on this side up to about here before it, because of course we can't weave the willow until there's a big enough gap anyway. So what I was thinking of doing, I was going to get some whipping tomorrow, and then whip up to here just to cover the sins of my my handiwork, but also to just to make it look a bit neater, really, and hold the bars in place, because there is potential for those bars to pop out, and if I whip around, then hopefully it won't. So I'm going to give that a go tomorrow. Right, so I've put 3 lots of tung oil on the end, so that's all ready to go really. I don't need to put any more than that on. It's actually quite greasy now, you can tell I've got enough on it. And you can see what I've done on this end. I've actually put a bit of whipping. There's 3 reasons to do that really. To try and keep the bars in place, so that when I'm weaving I might want to move the bars about to make them a bit more uniform, so that I'll hopefully keep it in place. This is the most vulnerable bit of the Couge really, so it just keeps the bars in place like that, and it makes it a little bit neater, because there's a bit of a mess underneath there really. Okay, so in a few days time we'll be ready to weave the willow onto the Couge frame. So I just thought I'd show you what we need to do to the willow to prepare it for weaving. So we've got, this is the willow, it's 4 foot black mall willow. and this hasn't been soaked yet, so it's just a bit damp. But you can see here that it's quite brittle because it's dried willow. So if you were to try and weave with this now, it'd actually snap off. So what you need to do is, to make it malleable, you actually need to soak it for 4 days. This is 4-foot black mull, so you need to soak it for 4 days. It depends on the temperature of the water. If the water is warmer, it doesn't take as long. This is in a shed, and it's normal temperature really. So yeah, I'm going to soak it for 4 days. After 4 days, you then need to let it mellow for a day before you're able to weave it. So I'll show you the next stage once we get to it. But I just thought I'd show you, in order to, because the willow, I've got a bath in my shed. Luckily, the previous owners actually installed this. It wasn't me, but it's come in very handy for willow. It's a 4-foot bath, so it's actually good for this size willow. For anything longer, I've got some polythene soaking bags that I use outside. They're a bit of a pain. I'm going to try and make some troughs for in the future, for any future willow stuff I do. But you see, the willow will float in the bath like that. So what I've got is I got off one of my mates. I've got some lead. This is just normal lead for roofing, which then I'll just weigh it down on each side because it needs to be submerged the whole time. There we go. So I'll just leave it there for 4 days, come back and then get on to the next stage. Right, so I've let the willow drain just for a little while, just so it hasn't got so much excess water, and I've made sure there's no standing water in the bath, because that's why I store it from now as well. You could put it elsewhere, but it's an easy place for me to store it. So from here you could see, I don't know whether you can see, but see from here now that the willow is now flexible enough that you can, I don't know if you can see that, you can actually bend it right over and it won't snap. That's just, I think you can tell that's perfect. But you don't want to start using it yet. You need to, what they call, mellow it overnight. So what I do, I've got a Hessian cloth, which I wrap the willow in. Just put it down in the bath, wrap it up, and that's how I'll keep it until I've finished using it. The willow will last now around about, I've kept it up to a week. As long as you keep it and it doesn't dry out. It depends on the environment it's in, but if you keep the Hessian cloth over it, it does tend to last quite a long time. But obviously the quicker you use it, the easier it is. Sometimes when you go to use it and it's old, it does get a bit more brittle, so it gets a bit more difficult, especially when you in the tight areas when you're weaving. So yeah, so I'll just wrap it up and then we can get weaving tomorrow. Okay, so this is the willow here. You'll see that that they're all the same length, but naturally you'll get some bits that are thicker or thinner than others. So you could see, and I tend to use them for different parts of the basket, or in this case couge. So with doing the ends, because the ends are are more narrow, what I'm going to start off with, some of the thinner pieces of willow, just to make it easier to weave. So now I keep a pair of secateurs with me, and what I'm going to do, because you can see that this gets thicker near the end. Now I always start off with the thickest end, but this end is a bit too thick, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just for these end pieces, I'm going to make sure that we've got thin pieces, so I'm going to only use about half of a length of these to start with. This is just something I've learned as I've been going, because when you're in tight areas like this, it can be quite tricky. Now, to start off with, what you need to do is wedge it underneath. It's simple. The weaving is simple. All you need to do is go over one, under one, over one, under one. When you start off like this on the edges, you might not be able to go over one, under one. There might not be enough room, so sometimes you might miss one or whatever. I'm going to see if I can do it. So what I'll do here is, if I just go, I want to make sure that the one I put it under is going to, it's firm enough, because there's some of these bars are a bit wobbly like that one. I don't want to use a wobbly one to start with. Actually this this end is going to work quite well, so let's just, right, so it's over. God, it's going to be quite tricky to do this and show you how to do it. And then we want to go under. In fact, probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over both of those to start with, just until I get going. So I'm going to miss one. I'm going to go over two, under this big fat one. Under. The idea is, if we can just, it's still a bit gloopy, that epoxy, really annoying. What the idea is, just to get it going, you just want to make sure that once you've done a few rounds, then the bars are firmly in place, and then you can start putting a bit more pressure on, because there we go. I can start going over and under here. Yeah, there's a blob of epoxy on the bottom that hasn't hardened properly. It's probably because the measurements were wrong, because of that, the resin part being too gloopy. Let's just have a look. So I go under, over, like this. Hopefully you can see that, but you'll put it out of shot. Apologies if my fingers are getting in the way. So under, over like that. That's not too bad. And of course, as I'm going, it's getting thinner and thinner, which is making life easier. Now, once I've done a few rounds like this, I'll then be able to try and, because you'll see the spaces between the bars aren't even, so I'll try and even those out as I go. But the most important thing here is to get around in. Now you can see this is the most fragile bar here. It really isn't in very well, so there's every chance it's going to pop out if I'm not careful. Let me just do that there, and over, and over, and there we go. Right, and then I'm going to go in between these two bars now. Even though I went over both of them the first time round, I probably could have not done that, but there we go. Okay, and all you do is you keep on going until you run out of willow, as in come to the end of it. I'll show you what we do then. Hopefully you've been able to see that. As we get towards the middle, it should get easier. The thinner the bars are, obviously it's a bit more tricky. And when you get to the end of your weaving, that's when it gets really tricky as well. Show you. Okay, getting to the end now. You can see only got a little bit more to go. So obviously you carry on for a little bit until it's too thin to work with, really. When you get to about here, so one more. Okay, so hopefully you can see that there, and then what you want to do is, instead of going down underneath, you want to poke it through, so it's sort of make a little gap in there and poke it through the gap, so it just sort of grips the willow. It's going to be tricky getting your hands in and out. And there we go, and pull it tight. So there we have it. That's the first weave done. You'll see where the last bit of willow ended. So you can see this bit here. This is where the last bit ended. Now what you want to do when you put the next piece of willow in, you want to put it in exactly the same way. So you're basically continuing with the same up and under that you ended with, and then it'll just continually go round and round.
It's very easy to get this wrong, but you can see this one. Let me just show you, so you can see. So this one was going over this bar, so I'm going to continue and go over that bar again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wedge it in underneath the previous one, and then bend it underneath the next one, like so, and to continue going round. Right, so it's coming along nicely. You can see I've done right up to the entrance on either side. I just need to do the bits in the middle. I've tried to go quite close up to the opening so that it puts a bit of pressure on, so that when the lid's on, it's quite firm. If I was to leave any gap here, it would make these wires a bit wobbly. So it's nice and rigid. Now what I found is by having these cable ties have done the trick. They've kept an equal distance. Okay, there's you can see some parts there's that they're a bit closer together than others, but I was never going to get it perfect with the way I did it. You can see it's actually misshapen the basket a little bit by putting these by forcing the bars to the right distance apart. But it's not bad. It's pretty good. It's kept the right sort of shape anyway. So. But the cable ties are becoming a bit of a nuisance now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the cable ties off. I'm going to tidy up the ends on in the inside, because it won't be very long before it's going to become very tricky doing these bits, and there's not going to be enough room in between, and there won't be enough light to be able to see inside. So as we get closer and closer to the middle, it's going to become more difficult. And it's always the same with anything, like even with the baskets, the finishing bit where you've got a small gap, but forcing the willow through, it can be quite tricky. tricky, and when you get down to this stage, you haven't got much room to play with. So it's just painstaking. You just have to do one bit at a time and just slow down, because if you try and go too fast, it'll wreck the withy. So yeah, let me just find out where we're at. So it's relatively even all the way through. You always tend to find that you'll get bigger gaps in places, but you can squish it as you go in, just to make it tighter. You want to get it as tight as possible. When the willow dries, it shrinks a little bit, so it'll grip onto the bars. So as long as we've got enough, we haven't got any gaps in between here that the fish can escape through, we should be good. So I've tried to cut off the bits as I'm going, like the bits on the inside, but I will have a little tidy up inside afterwards. It's not going to be the easiest, because obviously we can only do it through this opening now. Okay, quite happy with that really. It's turned out quite well. The weaving isn't perfect in places, but for a first attempt at a couche, it's not bad at all. So when you compare it to the original, you'll see that actually it's slightly bigger. So I have got a few bits left to do. So I've got the lid to make, and I've got the rope to put on as well. So those are the last two bits. So I'll show you a close-up of the lid so you can see what's involved. Okay, so this is the original basket template that I'm using. You can see this is the underside of the lid, and the idea is you can see that it's got a piece of flat cork with a bit of marine ply on top, so that when the lid is put on like this, it fixes this insert fits neatly inside to sort of seal the basket, seal the couche. Now you can see that there's these notches that have been taken out in order to account for these wires on the neck of the basket, neck of the couche. So yeah, I'm going to need to do the same here. So so this is the neck of mine, and I've got the similar thing really here with the two bits of wire on either side. Now I was a bit worried about if I make the wooden insert to be too snug a fit, then it might damage the willow, but we'll see how it goes. So what I've done actually, I've prepared this one. So I've just done this as a piece of marine ply, the same. I've stained it as well. It would be alright without it, but I just thought I might as well while I'm at it. And you can see that actually it goes this way around. These notches all line up, so it fits pretty neatly. I'm not gonna, oh, there we go, it does fit inside. So and then I've got this piece of cork. Now it's difficult sourcing the cork nowadays. There used to be a chandlery that we could get it from, but on the island, but you can see that this is actually quite thick when you compare it to the other one. So let me just see if I can show you. So it's actually a lot thicker, which isn't a big problem, but it'll look a bit odd on top of the couche like that. So what I'm going to try and do is sand that bit down. I don't know if cork sands very easily, but I'm going to give it a go. Hopefully it won't fall apart. So I'm going to sand that down and hopefully level it as well, because you can see it's a bit curved. So hopefully I'm going to make it flatter, so that then the piece of I was just trying to find the ply, it's inside the Couge, so that this fits on top, because at the moment you can see it's going to struggle to fit on top. So I'm going to sand that down and then give it a go. Okay. Pretty good. It's quite level for the wood. Let's just have a look. That fits neatly on top now. Okay. It's not bad. As you can see, sands very easily, cork. Okay, I'm going to put a bit of glue on. You can see here that what they've done is they've just tied it with I don't know, just a bit of plastic cord, just tied it through the rope, through one of the wires, and then if we go further along, similar things being done on this side, but you can see actually the cable tie has been used, and another bit of string here, and then on the end, in order to secure the rope here, looks like it's been drilled through. It's been drilled through the bit of wood at the end, and then just a bit of cord just to tie it in. So I'm going to do a similar thing for my Couge. I would like to say I've done this on purpose, but I haven't. We could see that one of the bars was just it's recessed. And it made it a little bit misshapen, but actually it's going to be quite good for putting the rope along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same as what's on the other Couge, but instead of it being tied with a bowline at this end, I'm going to splice an eye in here just to make it look neat, and then I'm going to use I've got some black whipping, and I'm just going to whip it all along here. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about the end yet, whether I'm going to bother drilling through the end or not, but I'll make up my mind by the time I get to that. Right, so sorry about that. I didn't show you how I did these bits because it was just so tricky to do. Basically what I've done is I've tried to, I don't know whether you can see, but it's because it's in black as well, but I've put whipping around the rope, and I've gone actually around the bars, so it's almost like I had to thread it through, and so it involved like cradling the Couge and actually getting my arms inside, and it was really tricky. So what I've done is I've got the eye at the end, so that's on the end like so. And then I've got two bits of whipping here in the middle. I don't think I need one on this side, and I've done one on this end, right on this end here. So I've got 3 bits that have whipped and keeping the rope in place. And what I have decided what I'm going to do is I am going to drill a small hole through the end here, just so I can keep this in place, because it's going to be quite important to keep this in place. Yeah, sorry for not showing you the whipping, but I'll show you what the result of it. So basically what happened was you saw that I drilled a hole through the handle. What I did is I posted some of the black whipping through the handle, wrapped it around a few times to secure it in place so that it wouldn't move up and down, and then you could see I've actually I've whipped the rope against the handle several times, pulled it through, and then I've applied resin to the whipping. Whilst I was there, I applied resin to the existing the smaller pieces of whipping down the rope, and you can see that the result is it's worked pretty well, really. That's nice and secure. So the last thing to do is to do the lid. So there we have it, completed Sandeel Couge. Yeah, since I made the last bit of video, what I've done is I've actually taken these rope bits apart again, undone the splice and redone it again because the V and the rope here wasn't wide enough. You'll notice in the video it was like down here somewhere, so but it wasn't as secure as I'd have liked to have been, so so yeah, I widened it, and that's actually a much snugger fit now, so hopefully nothing will get out. So yeah, I'm not going to pretend that this is exactly how that these would have been traditionally made. Obviously the traditional ones were made out of willow, but they wouldn't have been made with stainless steel bar, and so some of the materials I used wouldn't have been traditional. The traditional ones would have been made purely out of willow, so the ribs would have been out of willow as well, which I'm going to try at some point because it'd be a nice one to do. So yeah, I just wanted to show you actually inside the lid. I fitted a bit of foam around the outside, just to soften the contact with the willow, to see if I can make the opening last a bit longer. I can imagine that this is the area that's probably going to get the most wear with the lid going on and off. So there we go. So all I need to do is take it out in the boat now and give it a try. And so I'll hopefully do a video of that, so keep a lookout for that. So yeah, thanks for staying with me to the end of the video. I appreciate that it's quite a long video, but if you liked it, then please click the like and subscribe.